So you set up your first Facebook ads campaign and spend your first few dollars. But your results are not yet outstanding? What do? Well, now it's all about optimization. Take the data that you have gathered, analyze it, and then improve your campaign. Sounds simple, but there's actually a lot to it. That's why our Facebook ads expert Cedric is here to help us understand how we can do analysis in Facebook's ads interface. Now we got lots to cover, so Cedric, take it away.
Thanks, Julian. Hey, my name is Cedric, and in this video, I will show you how to analyze your Facebook ads data the right way. So what I'll actually do together is I'll show you how to create a custom view, and we'll add all sorts of metrics to that view and what I call your important numbers. Once we have that set up, we'll actually be analyzing a real campaign that was running last year. So we'll be analyzing that together and we'll be looking at real data. And really my goal is by the end of this video, you'll be able to apply the concept that you've learned in this video for any types of campaigns, doesn't matter of the objective. So now let me share my screen. So I am now in Ads Manager, and this is a campaign/strategy that we will be reviewing together. So it ran from September 2nd to September 18th, 2020. And this was a lead generation campaign, and it was optimizing for Facebook leads, and it was for a virtual event. So this is a campaign that we will be analyzing, but before we start talking about our important numbers and what sort of numbers and metrics I would add to our view here for this example, I just want to say that those important numbers are going to change depending on your campaign objectives. So if you're doing a brand awareness campaign, you're going to be looking and you're going to want to add certain metrics to your view that are different than a traffic campaign because your objective is different. And same thing with the conversion campaigns. If you're doing a conversion campaign, let's say for an e-commerce store where you're trying to send traffic to the website so that they can convert, you're definitely going to be looking at metrics like the purchase value or the return on ad spend. But for a lead generation campaign, we're looking at different metrics. Yes, we're going to be looking at metrics that are really similar, especially in the upper funnel, like the click-through rate or the impressions, but some metrics lower down the funnel are going to be a little bit different because here we're probably optimizing for the lowest cost per lead, especially if it's an event. So I just wanted to mention that before we go and start adding those metrics. So now to add our important numbers or metrics to our view, we're going to click right here on columns, and we're going to want to click on customize columns. But as you see above here, those are all, I guess, templates that are already made for you, which will add certain metrics to review. Now, we're not going to explore all of these in this video, but if ever you want to see some of the pre-made, I guess, templates, this is where you could find them. We're going to click on customize columns to create our own view. Now, what you see on the left are all the metrics that you can potentially add to your view. On the right, those are all the metrics that you currently have in your view, and you can always just remove them or order them just by clicking it and dragging, and the X button is obviously to remove them. If you don't see a metric that you'd like to add to your view, there's also an option to create a custom metric. So you can just click that and then create your own metric, which is pretty cool, but I won't be covering that in this video. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start with some metrics that are a little bit higher in funnel, and then I'll talk about some other metrics that are probably middle funnel and then lower funnel. So the first one that I want to add to my view is actually the click-through rate. And the click-through rate, I won't actually add the CTRL. You can add that to your view, but the one that I really like to see is the CTR, but the link click-through rate. The reason for that is because if I add this one, well, if someone clicks a comment or someone clicks a picture or any sort of clicks, that's what Facebook would count as a click. And I only want to see the CTR for the people that are actually clicking on the link. So I'm going to be choosing this one here, CTR, link click-through rate. The next thing I want to add to my view is the CPM. So CPM stands for cost per thousand impressions. And the reason I want to add this to my view is especially if one ad or ad set isn't really getting conversions or results, I'll be able to see how much I'm paying for 1,000 impression. And since I've been doing this for a long time, I know how much or about how much I should pay for 1,000 impressions for a certain industry. So that's why I always like to add the CPM to my view. Now, another one that I'll add is the CPC. A little bit like the click-through rate, I don't like to add the CPC all. You can definitely add it to your view, but what I personally prefer looking at is the CPC, but for the cost per link click. For the same reason, I choose the CTR for link clicks. The other metric I want to add to the view is the frequency. So the frequency, I'll talk a little bit more about this one later, but this is actually what tells you the average number of times each person saw your ad. And the reason I want to add the frequency is because usually I find that when the frequency hits a specific ratio, it also increases my cost per result, which I don't want. So that's why I always like to keep a close eye on the frequency. Now that our custom column is there, we can actually start analyzing the campaign. Now, I just want to mention that I'm actually not the person that created this campaign or managed this campaign. So I'm just simply reviewing the data with you guys. So let's start on the campaign level. So I'm obviously going to take a look at the results. And when I'm looking and analyzing my data on the campaign level, it's more of a high level overview of how my campaign is performing, right? Because I can't really make too many modifications on the campaign level. That's all done on the ad set and on the ads level. But I'll take a look at the results and see, oh, perfect, we got 430 results. Here's my reach. Here's how many impressions I've got and my cost per result. So again, before launching the campaign, I should have a good idea of what am I willing to pay for that lead. Some industry are actually going to be willing to pay, let's say $20 or $30 or $40 for the lead. But for some other industry, especially if it's like, let's say a free event, well, you definitely don't want to be spending $20 or $30 for the lead. You're going to want to probably pay something way lower than that because again, it's something free. You're not earning something for every time you get a lead. So this is why you got to know these numbers before you start advertising. But then I'll keep scrolling and keep taking a look. And again, it's really just a high level view of how it's currently performing. After that, what I'll do is I'll go on the ad set level. So in these ad sets right now, we have 3 different ad sets. If I go all the way to the left, I just want to mention that these ad sets actually all use the same audiences. In case you're wondering what is the PP or no PP, it actually stands for people. So they are describing if some of the ads have actual images of people or not. So we're going to get and see that once we get to the ad section, but I just want to mention that to you. So first thing I'll look is the results, right? Seeing, okay, well, which of these campaigns are generating most results? So obviously this one right here, all site visitors, PP, is definitely generating a lot more results than the other one. And if I were only to look at that, I would probably pause the other ones, right? But that's why it's also important to keep scrolling and keep looking at the rest of the results. Take a look at the impressions and also take a look at the cost per result. So what's happening right now is that this first ad set is getting a lot more leads, but if you look at how much they're paying compared to these other ad sets, you're actually paying a little bit more. Now, it's not a crazy amount, like there's not a huge gap between, let's say, this one and the $1.17, but it's still definitely something to take a look at because just based on seeing the cost per result and the results, I would definitely not pause this ad set now because as I can see, it's generating a cost per result of $1.17. Now, what I usually do, and if I were to create a campaign like that, and because at this point, what the person that created that probably tried to do is testing. And when I'm testing and I'm not sure of something, I always like to use ad set budget optimization and not campaign budget optimization. Now this campaign, when it was created, if I click edit, you'll see that they are using campaign budget optimization. It's on, but when you leave it off, you can actually control how much money you're going to be spending in each ad set. And most likely, and I think what kind of happened here is that they checked the CBO. That means that Facebook now had the choice and the option to spend their money on whatever ad set that they wish and whatever ad set that they want. But when you do that, you potentially are spending less money on some other ad sets that could potentially perform better than in another ad set. And that's kind of like what happened here. So as you can see, we've only spent $26, but this one spent $369. So what I like to do is control how much money I'm going to be spending in each ad set. And as a general rule, usually from what I see, you need at least 50 events to start seeing a drop in cost per result. And 50 events could mean a lead, it could mean a purchase. That is just like what Facebook says in their documentation, that after 50 events, you can start seeing it normalize or actually see a drop in cost per result, which this one was only at 23 results. And if we would have used maybe something like ABO, maybe we could have actually seen more results for whatever the daily budget was if we would have set it to ABO. that is just an idea. Potentially we would actually end up with the same results, but from what I've seen and from my experience, I like to set it up as ABO when I'm first launching a campaign. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on campaign structure, but the second thing that I see here, and I took a look at all these different ad sets, is that they're actually all the same. What I personally like doing is creating different ad sets and then having the same ads, or depending on the ad sets, having pretty similar ads so that I can only have one variable. So if ever one ad set is performing better than the other one, I'll know that it's because of the audience and not the ads. But here it's more of a ad variable. So they're using all the same ad sets, and then they're using different ads in each ad set, which I guess could be good for testing and seeing which ads are going to be performing better. But I usually like and start with the audience, and then I use the same ads, but maybe that's just more of a preference. But let's keep taking a look at it here. So I can see that obviously this one got more results, but it has a higher cost per result, but it also has a lot more impressions and reach. So let's actually take a look and see why does this ad set, why is this ad set performing better than other ad sets? And you did give the option to Facebook to use that budget for whatever ad set, and why did it decide to actually spend the money on this ad set when they're all the same audience? So let's take a look actually at the ads now. So I'm going to check this one and go to the ads level. And if I look at all the ads, there is a lot of ads. Now, if I look at another ad set, let's say this one right here, let's take a look and see, right? Could that be it? Could that actually the reason why Facebook is spending and got more leads with the first ad set is just because that ad set had a advantage. It just had way many more ads. So then if you're giving more ads to Facebook, Facebook has I guess more weapons to go to battle with. They have so many different variables and formats that they can potentially use to try to find someone that would potentially convert and become a lead. So that could potentially be one of the reasons why the first ad set is actually performing better, and it's just because we gave it more information and more content so that Facebook can use that and decide which one they want to take and which one do they think that a certain person would like to see. So if we're not doing the same thing with potentially another ad, that could potentially be the reason why it won't spend as much and potentially also not get as good results. But let's keep analyzing things on the ad set level. So I'm going to keep scrolling, and I actually really want to take a look at the frequency. So the frequency, and the reason why it's really important to look at it on the ad set level. Now, keep in mind that this ad or this campaign wasn't running for too long, but if you're running a campaign for at least a month or over a month, you're going to see sometimes if you're not frequently changing the ad, your frequency going up. And if it does go up, you could actually encounter something that is called ad fatigue. And that's when users are just tired of seeing the same ad, and they get annoyed, and that could actually increase your cost per result. And it is something that a lot of advertising are noticing. That's why it's really important to keep a close eye on the frequency. And a good rule for the frequency is whenever it goes over 2, take a look at it. So you can actually use the inspect tool and take a look and see if it increased the cost per result. But it's good to look at the frequency on the ad set, but also on the ad level. And usually what I'll see is on the ad set level, if ever I'm using a retargeting audience, so retargeting everyone that has been to a specific page on my website, especially with iOS, I found that these audiences got a lot smaller. And if I have a really high budget, I could have maybe 20 ads in that ad set. But if that audience is small and I have a high budget, that budget might actually be a little bit too big for this audience, and that's why the frequency is high. And it's not a question of changing the ads, it's just that the audience is potentially a little bit too small or the budget is too big. That's also why I like to use ad set budget optimization when I'm starting and learning, and it's just because I could control and potentially lower the budget if I see the frequency is a little bit too high on the ad set level. So that is in terms of the frequency, and that's how I would look at these metrics when analyzing the ad set level. Now, there's other things that you could look at, but that is how I would go at, I guess, analyzing it without spending too much time doing it. So let's take a look at the ads now. So the first thing I noticed when I take a look at this ad is that, this one here got all the leads. And if I look at it, I'm pretty sure it's the same ad. So this one compared to this one. And I love the test they made because it's basically the same thing, but I think they just used a different background color. So this just tells you, and from what I'm seeing here, it's only just the color. And I mean, they flipped the images are on the other side on this one. But if I were to manage this, what I would probably do is pause this ad. Now use this same ad and try to potentially add other images or other text. And based just on the data that I can see here, it's probably because the white really looks good when someone is scrolling on, let's say, Facebook. It kind of like matches with the platform. And that could potentially be one of the reasons that the ad with the white background is performing better. But I would look at this and see how can I create something like that is potentially a little bit better by using maybe the same colors. And then I would launch that ad and see if it's actually performing better than this one. So that's what I would do with this ad set. Now let's go back to the ad set level. And let's use this one. So I'll site visitors, general, no peep. So this one is, again, the same audience, but instead of showing a face of an actual person, they're just showing the ad. And if we take a look at here, so this one got, the lower one got a lot more results. So let's click on view chart and see what's going on. Okay, so that's the image. Take a look at the other one. So it's pretty much the same thing. I'm not sure if I'm seeing big difference. So it's more the positioning. So there's something where they position the information, and for whatever reason, they prefer this one. And if I open it again, I think the logo is bigger here. I think it could be the logo. So you can still see the logo here, but it's almost like hidden in the background. So that could be it. Honestly, if you would show me this, I think it looks different in the logo. So just based on what I'm seeing here, I think there has to be with something with the audience that this specific campaign is targeting. They potentially already know the logo, and when they're seeing this ad, they can see the full logo and it isn't being cut out, or the other one kind of blends in with the background. And I think that could potentially be it, because again, this audience is familiar with this event, and when they see the logo, they recognize it. But when it's blended as the background, they potentially they might not see it. So I think that could be one of the reasons why this ad performed better than the other ad. But again, it's just an opinion. We would have to test that out by creating another ad that truly shows the logo inside the ad. So analyzing the ads of the last ad set, that's actually the one where all the action happens. So let's take a look at that together. And if I just scroll down here, I can see that this ad definitely got a lot of results. And if we keep looking here, this one as well. And just by looking at this, I think what's going on here is that the community, the Measure Master community, we're all really data driven, right? And a lot of us love to learn about technical things, and I know that Simo is really all about that. So I personally think that the reason why this ad potentially performed better than some other ads is with the featured image we have here of Simo. So what I would do and how I would improve this campaign, this ad set and these ads in that ad set, is by creating another ad with him as the front of the ad and try different things. And I've seen in another ad set that a white background potentially performs better. So maybe it would actually be a good idea to just honestly do the same ad, maybe flip the image here and put the measure summit on the other side and maybe do a white background and see if that could potentially decrease the cost per result and just get us more leads overall. And the last thing that I would recommend you to look, and when you're analyzing things on the ads level, is the frequency. So this campaign wasn't running for too long, so the frequency won't be so high, and especially in this ad set, because there's a lot of ads, I'd be really surprised to see a frequency of 2.5 or over. And if I see a frequency of 2 or 2.5 or even anything higher, I would take a look and see when that frequency got to 2.5 or 2, did it increase the cost per result? And if it's still performing really well and giving us a lot of leads, then don't pause it. But if it's becoming to a point that, oh, well, if I look at all time, this ad is our winner, but in the last 7 days or even 14 days, well, the frequency got way higher, and then it also started increasing the cost per result to the point that now it's actually more expensive than other ads. What I'll actually do is potentially pause this ad or grab that same ad, but change a few things in the ad so that it's not just the same image and same ad for the user. So it's really thinking about the user. And think about it. Whenever you're going on YouTube or Facebook and you're constantly seeing the same ads, it's annoying, right? They're just like you. They're humans too. They don't like seeing the same thing over and over. So to kind of recap this video so that you can kind of consume it, and after that go in Ads Manager and kind of apply, I guess, what you've learned and how I'm personally analyzing things, is that it's all about being able to come up and generate new ideas. So take a look at an ad set, take a look at the audience and see, okay, well, this one is performing well. Can I try an interest-based audience or something that is kind of similar to that audience but not the exact same thing, and test it out? And you got to test it out, and then after that, being able to do the same thing that we did today and analyze and look at the data and see if it was a good idea. And sometimes you're going to have a good idea. Sometimes you're going to have not bad ideas, but your ideas won't just turn out to give you the results you wanted. And that's totally normal. And the same thing with ads. It's all about looking at what's currently working, generate new ideas, having a team or either doing it yourself, and being able to implement these ideas and actually launching them pretty fast. And then after that, just looking at the data and see if it worked or not. And it's really all about that. And as long as you keep doing that, you might actually start with not the greatest results, but as you keep repeating this process, and it's like a circle in the loop, eventually you're going to end up with some really good results with Facebook ads.
All right, thanks Cedric for this great explanation. If this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up. And I also quickly wanted to let you know about Measure Summit, which is coming up very soon. We have over 20 speakers talking all about measurement, so don't miss out and get your free ticket today right over here, or also there's a link in the description down below. Now, my name is Julian. Till next time.